Welcome to Combos from the Couch by LifeStance Health, where leading mental health professionals help guide you on your journey to a healthier, more fulfilling life. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Combos from the Couch. I'm Nicolette Lianza, and joining me today is therapist Iba Tukwafu, and we'll be diving into something many of us are experiencing right now: how to support ourselves and each other during these deeply polarized and challenging political times. Eva and I will be exploring practical strategies for maintaining your mental health, preserving important relationships, and navigating difficult conversations when the people around you may see things very differently. So, welcome, Eva. Great to have you on.
So happy to be here.
Definitely an important conversation we're having today. So, let's start off. Please share with us a little bit about yourself.
So I think the best way I can consistently describe myself is weird, in that I am the daughter of a Tongan South Pacific Islander immigrant and a Mormon pioneer stock, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Gidget mother. I also live in the great state of Utah and grew up in rural Utah, but spent a lot of my summers and spent a lot of time in Honolulu, where my brothers lived. So I grew up consistently on polar ends of the spectrum
Hmm.
as far as the people I was around, the people I was exposed to, the opinions and viewpoints and ways of seeing the world have always been very expansive. My father also joined the military when he was 18. So, as anyone who's been part of the military or a military family knows, the military is also its own culture. So,
Yeah.
I have all my army uncles still. So, this piece is what I think brought me to talking to you about this,
Yes.
Nicolette, is that
Yeah.
what I'm seeing more and more in my own patients and in my own family that's troubling is this huge jump in
Mm.
like political stress and these like
Yeah.
deep feelings of like woundedness and
Good
helplessness
word.
and
Yeah.
hopelessness that I grow concerned that sometimes I see a lot of clients engaging in behaviors that they think are moving them towards their values,
Okay.
but may actually be moving them away from some of their values.
Can you give it an easy example of that?
Sure. So, one of the really difficult things when we're talking about, like, when we talk about this in the context of important relationships, so family
Mm.
members, for instance, it becomes there is a fine line between having a healthy boundary with someone and just letting it be avoidance.
Okay.
Okay, so
Definitely a difference there.
this is not even in politics, right? This could be in many things. Certainly, this can come up in families over like religion,
Right.
sexuality,
Right.
all kinds of
Right. Right.
issues, right? So, for the individual, it's helping taking some time to really sit with, okay, if I'm going to unfriend this person or block them, is it because I need that for like my own mental health and well being? Or is it because I don't like what their thoughts are?
Ah, that's a key point there. I don't think a lot of us maybe step back to look at it that way. I don't like what you're saying, so block. And you're saying, let's tap the brakes with that a little bit, huh?
And I think that's something we've talked about a little bit offline, of
Previously.
course, is that what this creates, no matter what part of the spectrum you're on, is it creates insulation. We
Mm.
only surround ourselves with people who have the same viewpoints we do. It feels really good. We feel really
Right.
vindicated
Right.
and really
Right.
justified in saying and thinking what we want to say and think. But it does inherently because I'm a practitioner of acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, and I know you are too.
Yep.
But by doing that, it inherently creates psychological inflexibility.
Very true. Very true.
So we lose our willingness to show up with, hey, this is a difficult conversation. Can I stick with it? And
Mhm.
do I still really value and love this person?
Ah, okay.
There is the age-old adage of, is it more important to be right? I say that knowing full well that I've totally gotten roped into like Facebook arguments with some of my like Polynesian uncles and different people that had very different views on things.
Got you.
However, I still can have a spirited debate with them, and they still know I love them, and they
Uh,
still love
and
me.
and even that's the key, right? You guys can, it sounds like you and your uncles can have a good spirited conversation about different opinions, but you both walk away knowing you guys all still love one another, right?
Yeah. So this is the piece I think that I grow concerned is seeing in a trend, especially with a lot of my younger patients, where they feel this need to cut off family members. Now, there's
Mm,
absolutely a time and a place for that. That I know that there is there is
right.
absolutely a point at which cutting someone off is the healthiest choice, right? But again, am I cutting them off because this genuinely is for my own mental health and well-being, or am I cutting them off because they won't agree with me?
Bringing it
So
back to the installation, we're wanting that. We want others to agree with us, but it keeps us insulated. I think that's the key
which, when we go
point.
back to ACT, the funny thing is, an opinion is a thought.
Mhm.
That's changed
Yep.
constantly.
Mhm.
Opinions change.
Mhm.
So when we get so focused on needing to be right, we're starting to miss the humanity part, right?
Wow, yeah.
So this is by no means am I an apologist. I want to make that clear too. Okay.
Okay.
There are things that are inherently not okay. Okay. We know intentionally harming others is not okay. Baseline.
Right.
That's it.
No question about that. You are
Intentional
correct.
harm, whether it's
Right.
verbal, physical, emotional, sexual, it does not matter.
Right.
Intentional harm is one of those things where no, that's not
Mhm.
okay. But so much of life is nuance, right? So we
Right.
almost get into that CBT thinking error of black and white thinking. It's
Mhm.
all or nothing. You're
Right.
on my side or you're not. And we then also, I see a lot of people falling into, a lot of my clients are falling into one leap that people make is that because someone has a certain opinion, they must
Mhm.
not be a good person. Because
Mhm.
how could they be a good person if they had that opinion?
I think there's a lot of that kind of thinking going on for sure. For
And
sure.
again, an opinion is a thought.
Right.
It's like a thought that someone has, and that's one teeny, 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 teeny part of who they actually are as a person or at their core or
That
in,
opinion doesn't have it doesn't represent the entirety of that person. It's just their
absolutely.
thought, their opinion.
I grew up with some people who had some pretty racist views as a
Okay.
biracial kid. And they were some of the most wonderful, kind, loving, caring people. I don't know how they were so loving and caring, but they just were to me and
Okay.
my family personally.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
we also experienced a lot of my dad especially experienced a lot of racism
Okay.
in Utah just with getting pulled over for seemingly
Mm,
no reason,
okay.
which is where I noticed he would always carry his military ID in front of his driver's license. So again, there's these little nuances. At the same time, when I was in high school, the chief of police was in my church congregation and was one of my favorite people in the world. So we miss the opportunity to see the actual individual, their core
Mhm. Mhm.
energy. We as therapists, we have to be really careful too
Yes. Yeah, very true.
that we're respecting the fact that like our we may not have beliefs that align with some of our clients,
Mhm.
but that's fine because that's
Yes.
theirs. There's also this piece of remembering that these things are big, they're real, they're events that are happening in real life. So some of this like woundedness that's coming out
Mhm.
in people is because these events are real and they're happening and they're continuing to unfold. And there's two things that can get us into some really unhealthy patterns or pathways. One is to shut down. It's all too much. I don't care. All government officials are corrupt. The world's just going down the hole.
Mhm.
Like, and so I can't do anything about it. So I'm just not going to care.
And they're gonna avoid any sort of taking in any news about it or anything like that. Just avoid it all. Or try to avoid it all, I guess, is a better way
Yes.
to say it. Okay.
Which at its very core actually undermines democracy. Because democracy, our right to vote, our right to the societal contract we made as US citizens is this idea of the rule of law.
Mhm.
And that's part of where a lot of woundedness is coming in right now, right? Is there's so
Yeah.
much debate over the rule of law. And at the same time, this is an opportunity for individuals to really look at what are my values? What is it I really care about? Now, it may be that whatever side it's on, I want to join that protest. I want to sign that petition. I want to call my lawmakers. It may also just be I need to go out of my way to do something really kind for someone today so I can
Mhm.
feel like there is still kindness in the world.
Yeah.
I have a sign in one of my kids' rooms that says, "Believe there is good in the world." And then just the sections of within that that say "be the good" are in a
Ah,
different color.
love that.
And that piece of it, we all inherently have the ability to do in the present moment. Because that's the
Mhm.
difficult part right now, too,
Mm.
is we can't act in the past, what
Right.
has happened, can't act in the future. We can only act in the present moment. So, for some in some situations, like, yeah, it may be like, "No, I'm gonna block that family member. I don't need that in my life because they're just stressing me out because they're going on an endless rant about it, and it's just never ending. They're so fused with their thought and opinion, and they don't have the psychological flexibility. So I'm just gonna tone that one out for a minute. Now, I still and I'm a weirdo, I still have this thing about not unfriending people, though. I just
Okay.
put "see less." But that same person may then, like, the next thing that they post is a picture of their adorable grandbaby, and yes, I want to see that.
Okay.
This
I
is being
see.
human. Our social media feed can show that we like all the different parts of who we are.
And so with that, so you're giving us some ideas and guidance of maybe stepping back and really looking at that impulse to just block because I don't like what you're saying. Just step back and realize that's not the total, that's just their opinion. It doesn't mean that we have to not like them because of their opinion. There could be other aspects of them. What about for some people who really right now are feeling pretty just helpless and overwhelmed with just all the things they can't control?
Yeah.
Which is maybe what a lot of people on all the sides are feeling. Thoughts on that?
I think and that's that woundedness is that I think people are
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
how, why, what, where, when. And I think there's a lot of feelings of frustration on the whole spectrum. It's just this political stress is existing regardless of where you are on the political spectrum.
The
It's this piece again of the importance of slowing down and centering yourself, whether that's through meditation, whether it's through prayer for some people, whether
Mhm.
it's through just deep breathing, whether it's just checking in. Okay, I'm gonna just come back to the present moment. I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna do this thing I really don't want to do, which is I'm gonna sit with the fact that I am uncomfortable with the state of the world right now. And then I'm gonna just let that be that feeling because it's the feeling. We're not judging that.
so
So
you're so key in what you're saying there of like just sitting with the uncomfortableness of the state of the world right now. And as a therapist, I agree with you. That's what it is. But I know many people who might be listening might be like, that's easier said than done. How do you really stay with
of
that
course it is.
uncomfortability when it's so awful to feel? Right. I think that's a lot of we're having these conversations with people like how to sit with that because it stinks. Right.
Yep. And you have to, and it's real, right? Like it's a
Hmm.
reality. So being able to sit with, okay, I'm having this feeling of discomfort.
I like how you phrase that. I'm having the feeling of discomfort. That's such a key
Right.
act thing to say, too.
I'm having this feeling of discomfort. Now, what do I want to do with it? So that's that being curious part of ACT as
Yeah.
well. What do I want to do with it? Do I want to get involved actively? Do I want to just love my uncles despite the fact that we disagree on many things? Do I want to engage in things that I can control? For instance, I have a lot of clients that experience acute political stress that extremely heightens their anxiety. So we've created some boundaries, for instance, around their social media usage. Because this situation of civil unrest is not new to the human condition, and it certainly is not new to the United States. Um,
Very true.
where it is different at this period in time is the amount of information and the instant access that everyone has to it.
Correct.
And
Right.
so if you get caught up in all that and then you add AI into the mix,
Oof. Right.
it really starts to feel like I don't even know what's real
Hmm.
anymore. That's the piece where, for this particular client, we worked on really limiting his consumption of social media to an amount that aligned with him wanting to continue to be engaged and know what was going on, but not to the point where you're down the click hole.
I like that. Down the click hole.
Because when that happens, all our nervous system is doing is like you are 100% activated,
Yes.
even though you are sitting at maybe on your couch on your phone and there's nothing acutely putting you in danger. You are in full fight or flight mode.
Yes.
Okay. Which is also part of where we're starting to see that fatigue because it's constant.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's really important to intentionally disengage. There's a really great book called, I can't remember the name of the author right now, but it's called Dopamine Nation.
Okay.
Just talking about this effect that our constant engagement
Mm.
with things that boost our dopamine leads us to not necessarily be doing the activities that move us towards our values.
And going
Um,
for the dopamine clicks.
yep.
Yeah.
And there's great research coming out. I know there's a great podcast from you on AI psychosis. So what we're seeing is this disconnection from reality. So how do we combat that? You come back to the present moment. Like
Ah, there you
be
go.
where you
Hmm.
are in the place that you're at. Notice what you're feeling. Don't judge it. Be curious about it. And then say, what do I want to do about it? So for this gentleman, in addition to really limiting, so it was like, okay, instead of scrolling through TikTok, okay, I can watch 2, and then I have to be done.
Ah, there you go.
Or instead of reading every news article, like one by one, clicking through after I finish
Right.
that article, I'm gonna click on this next link. Just and I do this for myself. I practice this myself. I will limit to 5 news articles a day. That's it.
That's good.
I don't need I need to know, but I don't need to know everything.
That's a
Another
key
thing
thing. I need to know, but I don't need to know everything. I like how you
yes.
said that.
And the other thing I think that's really important in general is that it's like such an old thing. I don't even know where it originated from, but there is also the importance of considering the source.
Oh, yeah.
So
Mhm.
being thoughtful about where you're consuming your content from and making sure it's a reputable source. I don't know how many times someone has shared something on Facebook that starts a huge argument, and then somebody swoops in and is, you know that this is a fake, this is an AI video. Again, like being able to feel like, okay, I know what I need to know, and I can walk away, and now what I want to do. So for this gentleman, one of the things we discovered is that he did feel like he wanted to be involved in helping somehow, not just politically, but just helping.
Okay.
So he went so I had him look through it's volunteer.gov.
Mhm.
So there's all these government volunteer positions that you can volunteer for, still be engaged. This particular
Nice.
gentleman
Great.
really liked to be outdoors. There was some outdoor opportunities at different Utah has is the land of so many national parks. So there was different things for him to do there where he felt like
Okay.
again, he's contributing, he's doing something, and he's getting out of just sitting there with
Right.
that activated nervous system, getting more and
Right.
more frustrated and nothing to do about it.
Yeah. So you guys came up together. What a great outlet for him to one,
Mhm.
feel like he's doing something about it, to get out and just regulate his nervous system, not to be
Yes.
so activated. And so with that, the outlet of doing something. And for him, it sounds like you also aligned it back to his values, what was important to him. And that's wonderful. And I think you just gave us all a guide of, yes, we sit with the discomfort, the uncomfortability of all this, and then we align our values to determine then and get curious and then
Take
moving
action.
forward. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Take
Mhm.
action. Whatever, again, aligns with your values and promotes your belief in humanity
Yeah.
is where you can't go wrong. Now,
Mhm.
I will also reiterate what you already said. It's a lot easier said than done. I still have my days where I like catch myself reading an article and being like, and then I have to like stop myself, take a deep breath. Okay, what do I want to do with this?
But
Then
this is good stuff. I'm just jumping in just to, not that you're needing this reinforcement, but this is some really good stuff. And this is the stuff that, again, collectively we all need to be hearing and adhering to help us navigate through.
and just remember that we're all still human, and that can land you on many different sides of an argument on what it means
Mhm.
to be human. But going back to, again, that collective, let's move towards humanity, not away.
Yeah. Th-
And the only
I,
person you can do that for is yourself.
it has to begin
I,
with you.
I
Right.
can't force someone else to have a different thought or what I want to. As much as I, one of the great foundational elements of the United States is the idea of civil discourse. We've got a lot
Mhm.
of discourse going on now. I don't know how civil it is. So
Right.
there's this piece too of we need to engage in dialogue. We need to be listening even when it's hard,
Right.
even when we don't necessarily like what that person has to say. Are we
Mhm.
willing to show up and hear them out? Now, if somebody is ranting and raving and it's not someone you really care about, by all means, like, if it's not someone you want to spend your energy on, don't. For
Mhm.
those of you out there who just get something out of, like, just swooping in to troll and be the devil's advocate, maybe be curious about why that choice, and even some of us that fall for it and respond, right? Be curious about that choice.
Being curious about why you might enjoy rage baiting. Can't put it any
Um,
better than how I just put that.
yeah, exactly. There's obviously something you're getting out of it. Maybe
Mhm.
find a healthier outlet.
My gosh. Any other insights you would like to share?
I think just again, this piece of really as an individual choosing, because it is a choice to be
Mhm.
psychologically flexible. Because being psychologically inflexible is really easy.
Very true.
It also makes you very unhappy
Yes.
and can make you very lonely. And so just that willingness to show up and practice that psychological flexibility and recognize again just the humanity in other people and moving towards humanity and not away from it by
Mhm.
either avoiding it entirely or by demonizing it.
Eva, oh my gosh. Thank you. These were the words that I know I was needing to hear. I know our listeners are all like, whew, that was nice. Like sitting into a nice hot bath of, all right, very soothing. This is what I think our souls and our spirits were really, I think there's a natural inclination as humans to want to move towards, right? We are social creatures. So that is our innate, we want to move towards. It's when we get angry and do all the things that we're not that we really need to notice and get curious about that pulls us back. And so I really appreciate everything you shared about us choosing to move towards humanity. Definitely. So thank you again.
I'm so happy to be here and always happy to talk to you.
Yes. Same here for sure. I'd also like to thank the team behind the podcast, Jason Clayton and Julietta Winden. Thank you for listening to Converse from the Couch. Take care, everyone.